We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is August 26, 2024. Just got off work, so off today. Figured I would do a Leave the World Behind podcast. Now, like I said before, covering this book, a lot of the scenes in the movie are not in the book. That being said, we're still going to cover some stuff that was in the movie that wasn't necessarily in the book. And if you'll remember, if you've seen the movie, there's a part where all these electric cars are broke down, and there's self-driving cars that are like smashing into each other with no drivers in it and stuff. I don't know. Could it be predictive programming? Probably. It seemed like the whole movie and whole book is predictive programming. But I remembered a case that was kind of strange, and it happened last year. Towards the end of the year, it was September. So yeah, I wanted to delve into that, and we'll read some of the book too. So on a busy Saturday night near the University of Texas at Austin campus, a UT student caught a unique traffic jam on camera. At least 20 Cruise driverless cars at San Gabriel and 23rd Streets. It was a Saturday night on a home game, so there were a lot of people trying to leave West Campus. There's a bunch of drunk college students out, said Nico Prada. Prada is a civil engineer student specializing in transportation. He isn't against driverless cars, but is not comfortable with them in such a very busy area of Austin. From a pedestrian in West Campus, they're not great to interact with. But I'm sure at some point the technology will get there, said Prada. Nico posted the videos and photos he took on social media. One of many recent posts that caught the attention of Austin City Council member Zoe Caudry. The idea behind them is great, but I think it's definitely not ready for prime time quite yet. The last thing I want to see is someone getting hit by a car, whether a pedestrian or cyclist, and get injured, said Caudry. Caudry is working with fellow council members to address the issues in the Austin Mobility Committee next month. I would hope the state is able to kind of come in and help out with a lot of these concerns, said Caudry. The city of Austin is currently limited by the state's transportation code, which states a political subdivision of this state or a state agency may not impose a franchise or other regulation related to the operation of an automated motor vehicle or automated driving system. So, there's no way for us to regulate it. But I think having a conversation with our state, counterparts is extremely important for me. For them to kind of raise the alarm bells on this. And I think it's extremely important for constituents, said Caudry. As a constituent who has a car but rarely uses it, Prada is concerned for his safety. You're taught when you're riding a bike that you will have to make eye contact with the driver, or when you're crossing the street, you have to make eye contact with the driver at every stop sign intersection. You can't really do that with a cruise car. There's no driver. It's just an empty seat. So it's kind of hard to predict what they're going to do at an intersection, said Kadri. Cruz provided KXAN with a statement about the incident saying, "We prioritize safety in everything we do. It was a crowded, challenging environment, and there was no pedestrian, vehicle, or property damage. We fully recognize the inconvenience, and we've taken proactive measures to relieve the crowding in the area." So yeah, I just found that interesting. Just kind of reminded me of Leave the World Behind. And it's actually happened in, I believe it was San Francisco. Sam Tripoli was talking about it on his podcast about all these electric cars basically going to one area, one spot, and all traffic jamming. So, interesting stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Chapter 28. There was almost something festive about it. A drink before the war. Seen one way, it was placid. It was inviting. It was a vacation. Enterprising Ruth and produced a can of chicken soup, which Archie reluctantly spooned. Amanda tucked him into his remade bed. Enterprising Rose remembered. She had downloaded a movie to her mother's laptop a year earlier. She wasn't that interested in it, but it was better than nothing. Amanda sent her to bed with a slice of cake and the almost obsolete computer, and the four adults had an adult evening, or the candor they couldn't enjoy when little ears were listening. GH paged through an old Economist. Ruth filled porcelain bowls with baby carrots and hummus. Amanda nursed a glass of wine. Clay stood at the island, improvising a sausage pasta. The rain had abated, the deck dry beneath the eaves. But they'd dine inside, not for fear of the mosquitoes and the end-of-season death throes. The woods menaced them. The moon was waxing pale yellow. Proud, though, the broken clouds. There was no aftershock to the noise. Or there was, and it was all in their heads. Maybe what they'd heard was the sky itself cracking, like Henny Penny foretold. It seemed like as anything. No one knew what was happening to them, and maybe because of that, the right was strangely joyous, or maybe it was a collective hysteria, or maybe it was the Chardonnay, cold in the color of apple juice. It felt practiced or familiar as Thanksgiving. The passing of food on plates, the filling of glasses, the chit-chat. Did anyone want to hear George's stories? A client bilked out a fortune when a Basquiat was revealed a forgery. The man who'd shifted hundreds of thousands of dollars to his 7-month-old to sidestep a prenup. The man who'd lost $3 million in Macau. The client who needed cash to pay one of the New York Yankees to bless his son's bar mitzvah. His stories were about money, not men. Money, awe-inspiring and irrational, and almost all-powerful. George thought money could explain what was happening to them, and that the time would tell if money would save them from it. If these people did leave the next day, he'd have to remember to give them $1,000 for their trouble. GH wasn't sure if he thought they would leave, though. Dessert? Why not? There was an air of finality, at least for Clay. The now clean clothes tumbled about in the hot embrace of $4,000 dryer. He thought Archie's fever would break. thought he'd ask GH for directions, a pencil sketch, safe deliverance. He thought the morning would come and surprise them with its beauty, and they'd drive home. They sliced Rose's cake. Ruth put cardboard pints of ice cream onto the table. The well-stocked kitchen had 2 stainless steel ice cream scoops. There were enough dishes to fill the washer. Amanda said it. Well, the electricity's still on. You stopped noticing a thing like the flow of power, a thing you couldn't see but derived some comfort from, rather like God. The water was slowly, very slowly, draining from the tub in the children's bath, but she didn't know that. The conversation turned to places they'd traveled. G.H., sardonic, said, "You must have had more enjoyable vacations than this one." Amanda thought of those places where nights never grew dark. Helsinki, St. Petersburg. Actually, I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida. I don't know if that's the same St. Petersburg she's talking about, but small towns in Alaska, built for men, paid to do things to the earth. She feared the return of that noise, unfathomable in the dark. They already knew nothing. Disney? She laughed. She'd hated it at the time, but cherished the memory. Archie threw up then, too, Clay said. He wanted to think of it like that. The vacation meant kids naturally capitulated to virus. Archie, always with throwing up. Archie, cut it out. This was more enjoyable than believing Archie ill. Ruth talked about Paris. She and Maya had tea time at the George V, tried on shoes at the Galeries Lafayette, rode the carousel in Tuileries, though at 13, Maya considered it beneath her. The city is gorgeous, as you've always been told it is. We should do that for winter break. Paris is so beautiful. You don't even care if it's cold. Clay saw his kids on the deck of the Eiffel Tower, puffs of frosty breath as they surveyed the world at their feet. He remembered footage of Paris flooding. When was that? The Louvre had moved 35,000 works of art so the Seine wouldn't destroy them. Well, see the Lady and the Unicorn. Sounds expensive. Idle promises scared Amanda. What if it was a war big enough to ensnare the entire world, and national borders became like castle walls? She didn't know that it was worse than a war, could not describe it. Those planes had been sent from Rome, New York, to meet another, approaching from Western Africa. Bad intelligence. They ended up killing 400 odd souls before they got near enough our borders to have to fill out their immigration paperwork. The pace of things used to be slower. Now, a nut didn't have to shoot an archduke. Every day was a jumble of near simultaneous oddity. The cardboard cartons emptied. Everyone admired the cake made from a box, smudges of chocolate hardened on plates. When the true dark set in, the night's winged creatures would beat softly against the glass. The outside lights would click on, illuminating the boughs overhead. A silence settled, one of those natural intervals sometimes experienced in restaurants or at parties when talk relaxes, and the assembled company leaned forward, straining as though to hear something barely discernible. There were no eggs left in the refrigerator, but perhaps they could serve cereal for breakfast. They decided without discussing to simply sit and feel satisfied. G.H. fiddled with his glass. Clay twitched with that delirious urge to smoke a cigarette, so powerful it was a little frightening. He had to confront the fact that he was weak. Ruth looked toward the window and saw mostly her own reflection. Amanda retrieved the bottle of vodka she'd bought the day they arrived. GH sliced lemons into rounds, yellow coins, fat with flavor. When Amanda got to the bottom of the first drink, she dug her fingers through the ice and set the citrus on her tongue, like the Catholics did with the body of Christ. Substantiated onto something new. She was drunk. The tell was the volume of her voice. "I'll have another." This was a command more than a request. GH poured. "My pleasure." Clay smelled of the cigarette he'd just returned from enjoying, though enjoyment wasn't much part of it. The crickets conspiring, the possibility of something out there. He'd hoped to see headlights, maybe a plane crossing the sky. There were studies about solitary confinement making you mad. He missed the presence of other humans, and he was putting on a brave front because that was his job as a man. "George, will you make us a map tomorrow? You'll show us the way. Clearly I can't be trusted." "I'll drive into town. You can follow me." Ruth did not say anything. Amanda was afraid of slurring, seeming more drunk than she knew she was. She was a woman in control of things. "Are you going to come back? Here?" "Yes, we are." Ruth would go with him. She wouldn't stay there alone. She wanted them to leave and to stay. She could not be indifferent, even though she wanted to be. She did not want to feel guilt. "I wish I knew the roads to Northampton." GH was reserved. "It's far. We'll just hope that the phones..." He didn't bother concluding. "We need to take care of Archie." Amanda's falter said what needed to be said. The boy was sick. It didn't matter what caused it, only what they did about it. All those years fretting about the expensive epinephrine auto-injector at the boy's side like the president and the nuclear codes. And Archie was undone by a noise. Parenthood was never knowing what was going to hurt your kids, but knowing only that something inevitably would. "Before you go, I'll give you your cash back." GH was fair, or a deal was a deal. He was drinking the vodka too. The four of them were united in their search for the temporary peace of oblivion. It almost worked. He almost forgot why they were together in the first place. "I'm not going to forget that, I can assure you." Clay tried to make a joke of it. Maybe they didn't need that money to pay the medical bills. Maybe they needed the money to replace a refrigerator full of rotting food. Maybe his editor at the New York Times Book Review would so love his essay, she'd offer him a contract. Anything. Oh, bless me. Sorry about that. Anything was possible. He put a hand on his wife's to tell her that he thought they were making the right choice. "We're all going to be fine." Amanda was not addressing him alone. Drunk enough not to care that these people were involved. They were family now. Or something. "If it's your last night of vacation, you should enjoy it." Ruth stacked soiled plates one atop another, leaving aside the fact that she enjoyed restoring order. These people had become their friends, their guest, and Ruth the host, and she just needed to clear the table. To the enjoyment of vacations, to the enjoyment of any time, a moment in life, I guess. Enjoying a moment is a victory. I think we need to hold on to those. GH raised his glass. The gesture was sincere. I'll enjoy. Amanda felt defensive, like saying, "I am having a good time. I am a good time." Optimists believed they could change the world. They thought if you looked on the bright side, the less bright side would no longer exist. "It's not an order, it's an invitation." GH felt at ease. He couldn't wait to see the markets. He couldn't wait to figure out who had got rich, because in such moments, someone brave or just lucky always did. He hoped the night would grow cold. He wanted to stand outside and shiver. then sink into the hot tub and look at the black limbs of the trees. Amanda refilled her drink. She wanted more ice cream, the lavish sweetness in her mouth. There was no more, but there were donuts. There was a package of cookies. She had options. She knew before they went to bed that night she'd steal into the kitchen, tear through whatever she found, palms full of salty goldfish crackers, limp American cheese, a finger in the hummus. As she stood, the room moved a little. The table under her fingertips steadied her. I think I'll have another. Ruth closed the dishwasher door, satisfied. I should fold the laundry, maybe pack us up. Amanda stood. I can help you. Fold. We can fold. Pack. Let's get one step at a time. I think we should be prepared, Amanda said. Perhaps we'll have a nightcap later. Clay felt it was good manners. Maybe this was their last night together. It seemed they'd been together for weeks. It had been one day. In the bedroom they worked in silence. The clothes, still warm, were sorted into tidy piles, dropped to the bottom of the rolling duffel. I have to remember to go outside and get everyone's flip-flops. Let's just be cautious. I'm packing. We're not coming back here. We're going home. Clay understood her insistence. If they thought it, it would be so. He took clean underpants from the chest of the drawers and placed them atop the bed. It's been a strange day. I need reality. Amanda sat on the bed. A day that felt like a week. Could it be that they were addicted to our phones? Like an actual addiction? Because I feel unwell. Clay was charging his. Wanted to be sure it was ready when the network came back online. Amanda fretted. What if that noise made us sick? It might be possible. What if the hair fell from his head, as it did from chemotherapy patients on television shows? What if his rubbery fingernails peeled back to reveal the softest part of the body? What if his bones hollowed and weakened? What if his blood ran with poison? What if tumors lurked in the space behind his eyeballs? Grew slowly as Amanda's lungs had filled with that inflatable pool toy, one breath, then the next, until the thing was a softball pressing into his eye socket. And those people, she whispered this. She was betraying them. She hated George Washington. What sort of name was that? And she hated Ruth. And she blamed them for bringing the world into this house. Amanda wanted to be safely buckled into her front seat, her left hand straying unconsciously to squeeze Clay's right arm, recumbent atop the gear shift. She wanted to drive away from this place and these people. Fear was private. It was primal. It was something you guarded because you thought you could diffuse it that way. How could they continue to love each other, having realized that they could not save each other? No one person could stop a determined terrorist or the gradual change in the ocean's pH. The world was lost, and there was nothing that Clay or Amanda could do about it. So why discuss? In other words, the world was over, so why not dance? The morning would come, so why not sleep? An end was inevitable, so why not drink, eat, enjoy the moment, whatever is contained? You know what I feel like doing? Clay pulled his shirt over his head and tossed it to Amanda for the pile of dirty things, grinning and tumescent. So, since we were covering electric vehicles causing traffic jams, let's get into how dangerous they are exploding. So, data shows low prevalence of electric vehicle fires in Maryland. What you need to know, electric vehicle fires can be especially dangerous due to lithium-ion batteries. Pikesville, MD, wherever that is, as fires involving electric vehicles can be especially dangerous, 11 News investigates, looks into the prevalence of such fires in Maryland, and whether firefighters have the tools they need to fight the fires. Electric vehicles are still relatively new to consumers. Some who have questions about risk associated with electric vehicles as sales grow in Maryland and across the country. Experts told 11 News Investigates that when an electric vehicle catches on fire, the fires burn in such a way that it's hard to miss. In a recent fire involving a Tesla, firefighters propped up the car's rear wheels to concentrate water on the lithium-ion battery underneath. Electric vehicle fires can be especially dangerous due to the battery. Maryland State Fire Marshal Brian Garassi told 11 News Investigate that it's especially dangerous when the lithium iron battery in an electric vehicle ignites. Quote, "These things fail very quickly, and they give off a tremendous amount of heat and tremendous amount of fire. There's an explosion hazard," Garassi said. "The biggest problem is when the fire moves beyond one cell, meaning it spreads to the rest of the battery, setting off a dangerous chain reaction called thermal runaway. When a battery goes into thermal runaway, they will generate their own heat and they will propagate, only they will move from cell to cell to cell to cell. These batteries can get over 1,000 degrees, so the key is getting to those batteries." Baltimore County Fire Bureau Chief Tim Rutkowski told 11 News Investigates, "If we don't cool it down quick enough and for a long enough period of time, it will generate heat and catch itself back on fire." So, do fire departments across Maryland have the tools needed to deal with these types of fires? "No, I don't think so," Garassi said. "I mean, other than water, that's it. That's all we got." So it makes you wonder if that's happening in Maryland, that's probably happening all over the United States and all over the world. That firefighters can't properly fight electric vehicle fires. So, what do you think about that, World Economic Forum? Did you think of that when you were doing your whole Great Reset plan? Electric vehicle fires compared to gas-powered vehicle fires. The experts told 11 News Investigates that electric vehicle fires are happening less often than fires involving gas-powered vehicles. Yeah, but it's a totally different type of fire. Just saying. "We've had a few electric car fires, but not that many," Garassi said. "It's usually when they're in a collision or something like that, or when the batteries are damaged." In April, the Maryland State Fire Marshal's Office started tracking all lithium-ion battery fires, providing the first and only public data that exists statewide on electric vehicle fires and other types of electric fires. With more than 6 months of data from every fire department across Maryland, there has only been one electric vehicle fire so far. When you really crunch the numbers proportionately, it's probably less, but certainly, how could it be less than one? What are you talking about, dude? "They're not more prevalent than a gas-powered vehicle fire," Rutkowski said. Mike Hoover agrees. He went through extensive training to become the electric vehicle specialist at Tim's Automotives and Towing in Parkville. "Gas vehicles. We're having fires every single day. The electric vehicles are few and far between." Hoover told 11 News Investigates, "We have to use linesman gloves. It's the same gloves that linesmen use on the power lines. They're rated up to 1,000 volts. Experts say data shows electric vehicles less likely to catch fire." Of course they would, because that goes with the Great Reset. While working on electric vehicles requires specialized tools, Hoover said electric vehicles are less likely to catch fire. Garassi said the data shows a different story for gas-powered cars. "We've already had, I believe, up to 10 deaths already due to collisions with fires this year and the state of Maryland where people have died in their cars," Garassi said. When a battery is damaged in a crash, Garasi, Rutkowski, and Hoover said, taking the following precautions are key in avoiding electric vehicle fires. Use the factory supplied charger. Plug your car into the wall. Don't use extension cords. Follow the instructions in the owner's manual. Garasi said he hopes the website will provide transparency about which types of lithium-ion battery fires are and not common. So let me know what you guys think about this whole Great Reset and them trying to switch us over to electric vehicles. I think it's dangerous. I think that it's more harmful. They've actually proven that it's more harmful to the environment than gas-powered vehicles. There's already literally junkyards full of electric batteries, electric vehicles. When they die, it's just easier just to buy a brand new electric vehicle than to get the whole battery replaced. I think it's crazy. It's not, and I purposely think that with the Great Reset, it's not meant to work. I mean, we all know that they want a large amount of us dead and off the face of the earth anyways, and a small amount of us who are not, in their words, useless eaters, to be basically a lower slave class in a feudal system of New World Order. Dark stuff, man. But I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more Leave the World Behind episodes.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.